Subaru. So, the new WRX has obviously been officially announced out. I've seen it at the LA Auto Show. The looks, it's not the best looking car in the world. Everybody's complaining about the wheel arch moldings. I'll complain a little bit about them too. If you look at a Subaru Crosstrek, they look all right here because this is a vehicle with a raised ride height, and the theory behind these wheel arch moldings is they are meant to make the car more rugged so you won't scratch the paint driving through, bushes and tall grass off-road or something. They put them on the new WRX. Subaru claims that they improve fuel economy by improving the aerodynamics of the vehicle. I think they did it to make it look slightly like an SUV, since everybody just buys SUVs these days for the most part. I'm not a big fan of the look, and I think it's clear that Subaru knows people don't like the look, because on the main page of their website, they just show one in magnetite gray, which kind of masks these things. And if you look at the website proper, they'll only let you look at the car in magnetite gray and solar orange. I guess those are the colors that they think it looks best on. I think solar orange is going to kind of be what they want to be the signature color for the 2022 WRX, because it is a color that was not available on the previous generation model. So that's great. We have a new WRX. Looks kind of wonky, especially if we look at it in a regular color like white. Not a great looking car. I think most people seem to agree with that. But for me personally, I'm not bothered by that, because the Subaru WRX to me has never really been about looks. It's been about performance. So let's talk about performance. They put a 2.4 liter turbo engine in the 2022 WRX. And on the 2021s, it had a 2 liter. So you would expect a bump in horsepower. And you got one. The 2021 model had 268 horsepower. The 2022 skyrockets all the way up to 271. It's only got 3 more horsepower out of an additional 0.4 of a liter. The engine's 20% larger, and it got 3 more horsepower. But it's worse than that. It's worse than that. You can say, okay, well, it gained 3 horsepower in 1 year. Well, if we go way back to 2009, when the WRX still had the old EJ25, 2009 was the year that they bumped the horsepower to 265. So if we go back 13 model years ago, it's only gained 6 horsepower since then. You can say, okay. It didn't gain any power, a little bit, 3 horsepower. It's got a little more power. But what about the fuel economy? Well, this is now where my disappointment comes in. Because what I expected, I kind of looked at the very meager, pretty much non-existent bump in power between the 22 and the 21 model, and I thought, well, they're probably going to mess with the gearing a little bit so that you don't lose any performance, any noticeable performance, but you do gain fuel economy, because corporate average fuel economy ratings, and that's a selling point, and blah, 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 blah. And if they did that, okay, I could live with that. That's an advancement. They didn't. They didn't do that. 2022 Subaru WRX, 2.4 liter engine, 6-speed manual transmission, 19 city, 26 highway, 22 combined. 2021 WRX, 6-speed manual, 2 liter, 1 mile per gallon higher, 20 in the city, 27 highway, 23 combined. So it gained 3 horsepower and lost 1 mile per gallon, and it's a complete redesign on a new chassis. How did... Automatic. If you care about an automatic WRX, the automatic is 1 mile per gallon better city and highway, although somehow the same rating combined. from the 2022 to the 2021. So if we say that it gained a mile per gallon on the automatic and it lost a mile per gallon on the manual transmission, the fuel economy stayed the same. The horsepower went up by 1%, and it's a complete redesign. What in the world is going on here? So that's kind of a disappointment to me. And I love Subarus. I've had 6 of them. I had a WRX STI. Look at that baby. A 2017 that I absolutely loved. I currently drive a 2021 Legacy XT Touring, which actually has the same 2.4-liter turbo that the new WRX is going to have, but it's a little different in the Legacy because it's tuned for regular gas. So it's down 11 horsepower. Oh, how can you tune it for 91 octane and only gain 11 horsepower, Subaru? What in the world? So with that being said, though, let's do a little contrast and compare. So I had a 2017 WRX STI 2.5-liter EJ25 ancient transmission, or ancient engine, 6-speed manual transmission, close ratio, not tuned for fuel economy. And that one was rated 17 city and 23 highway. So the all-new 2022 WRX with less power, a much more modern engine, a new chassis, 6-speed manual, only gains 2 miles per gallon in the city and 3 on the highway compared to my old ancient, now 5-year-old STI. Now, one thing I will say about my STI, in the city, 17 is about right. Somewhere between 15 and 17, honestly, is what it got in the city. But, you know, I didn't drive the car with a light foot. On the highway, real world, it would do between 25 and 27 pretty much any day of the week. One time I tried a bit of hypermiling with it. I think I got it up to 31.7 miles per gallon. There's an old video on my channel. If you want to check that out, maybe I'll put a link in the description or something if anybody cares. But anyways, so my STI did do better than what it was rated on the highway, and I could see something similar happening with the new WRX because in my experience, Subarus with geared transmissions, whether they be manuals or torque converter automatics, typically do better than their highway rating. CVT Subarus usually do about what they say they're going to do. As you can see, my Legacy is rated 24 in the city, 32 on the highway. I just drove it across the country, and I didn't keep exact records, but it averaged about 28 miles per gallon, and that was with definitely, you know, kind of city highway combined, more highway, but again, I'm not a person with a light foot, and it's possible that I may have exceeded the posted speed limits once or twice during my trip. So, you know, but under normal driving conditions, it gets about what it says it's going to. So how in the world does the new WRX with a CVT, which is going to be a lighter weight car, I know it's going to be geared more aggressively. It's going to feel faster. It's going to be faster, I'm sure, than my Legacy is, even though they have this very similar engines and similar horsepower. The WRX has 11 more horsepower, but it also takes premium fuel, and it's going to get 5 miles per gallon less in the city and 7 miles per gallon less on the highway, 6 miles per gallon less combined. Somehow that just doesn't make any sense to me, and I do find it disappointing. And again, I love Subaru, but you know, here's the funny thing. They leave these darn WRXs in production for 6 or 7 years. So we're going to be living with this for 6 or 7 years. Now, as far as the looks, again, the looks, I don't love it, but it's not a big deal. If people really hate it and there's a lot of backlash, they'll change it. They did that in with the 2008 model when it first came out. Everybody hated it, and then by 2011, They had applied the wide body look to it, and then everybody loved it. So, you know, if people really hate the sort of side moldings and fender skirts or whatever these things are, you know, they'll change it. But they probably won't change the powertrain that much. Maybe they'll have to. But I don't know. Maybe real world, these cars are going to do better than what they're rated. But for now, these fuel economy ratings kind of just came out. That's all I have to go on. And it's kind of a disappointment. So, Subaru, I love you. I may end up with another WRX STI at some point because I miss my old one so much. It was just such a fun car to drive. And again, the horsepower, I could forgive them for the horsepower because even on this car was rated at 305 horsepower, and it was quick in a straight line. Don't get me wrong. It was very entertaining to drive. But the handling was more impressive than the power, and that was really where the car came into its own, was on a curvy road. And maybe that was what they focused on with the new WRX, but I would have expected some improvement. Either give me more power with similar fuel economy or give me similar power with more fuel economy. Because this just feels like we're standing still. I mean, the 0 to 60 time on the car probably hasn't gotten better since 2009 either. And that's getting to the point where, what are we doing out here, you know? If we go back to 2004, when the original WRX STI came out, at the time, it had 40 more horsepower than a Mustang GT. Now what? The current 2021 STI has 310 horsepower, and the Mustang GT has what, 470? So how do we go from having 40 horsepower more than a Mustang GT to 160 horsepower less? You know, and I understand you could say, okay, well, that's not really a competitive car, and the Mustang GT does cost a little bit more. And okay, fair enough, but it is what it is. The fact still stands. You know, at one point, these cars were dominant as far as, you know, the WRX and the STI in their performance field, and now they're also rans at best. So, and people are still going to buy them, and I might even still buy one because they are great cars, and I'm sure, you know, the 2022s will be fantastic to drive. I haven't driven one yet. I'll keep an open mind for that experience because if somehow the whole is greater than the sum of its parts, that's something that I'll be able to appreciate. But I don't know. As of right now, this just doesn't pencil out for me. I don't understand. I expected more, Subaru. I think you're capable of more. I believe in you as a company, and as engineers. And this just feels like you kind of phoned this one in because you make so much money selling people Foresters and Outbacks and Crosstreks. And even though the WRX and the STI are sort of halo cars for you, in the grand scheme of things, numbers-wise, they're just not that important. And I understand that, but it doesn't change the fact that wish you would have done a little more. So anyway, thanks for watching my video. Like, subscribe, blah, 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 blah. Have a great day.